YouTube land, fellow YouTubers, and everybody else. Welcome to Walking with J.Beau, an almost daily walking vlog. As we trek through thawed out Maine. Anyway, it is a nice mid to upper 50s day. Nice and sunny today. So it feels warmer than mid-50s. It actually feels more like 60. People are coming out of hibernation, riding motorcycles. Very little bit of extremely dirty snow left like that, which is melting. Hope everybody's having a beautiful week thus far. As we go walk and check out the terrain, I've not walked since last year. Really a terrible thing what's going on with Tesla. It's bothering me. Should bother you too as an American. Get a nice fine American company like that that has lost half its stock value. It did go up a bit today though, based on the Utilities Commission in California issuing an OK permit for Tesla in California, since California is very pro electric vehicle. The simple fact is Elon Musk's Tesla company is leading the world in robo-taxi and autonomous electric vehicles, self-driving vehicles. California is very interested in that because they want to offer robo-taxi and things like that for citizens as public transportation. Very large market in a city with about 12 million people in the area. And they would love to save the money that they currently pay on natural gas powered buses, gasoline powered buses, electric buses that don't work half the time because some federal contract got a bunch of people rich for something that doesn't work. Ironically, the kind of thing that Elon is trying to fix for our government and paying a heavy price for. And it was really disturbing to me to see Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota, former vice presidential candidate, and he wants to be the candidate in 2028, on stage talking to people, laughing at Tesla's stock drop value, holding up his phone arrogantly, saying that he tracks stocks on his phones, even though he doesn't own stock or bonds, which I guess he doesn't. His wife probably does, though. And telling people if they want a good laugh, watch the Tesla stock on their stock app. This is a guy that's going to be running for president, was just running for vice president, cheering for an American company to fail because of Trump derangement syndrome and cutting waste out of government. Trump doing what he said he was going to do if he won, which is what the people want. And the Democrats think it's a great idea to try to sink Tesla and bankrupt Elon Musk because, as I've said on this walk 1,000 times, the number one character trait among liberals, the ones on the far left, is vindictiveness. They gotta get you back. Revenge, anger, violence, hate. So they turned him, Elon, into Hitler with a Hitler salute that he didn't make. There is organized domestic terrorism, sabotaging Tesla dealerships, which the dealerships are not owned by Tesla. So, you know, they're hurting the people that own those businesses and the employees. They buy those vehicles from Tesla. They put in an order, and they're an authorized dealer. It's not owned by Elon Musk. So anyway, you can expect some arrests from that pretty soon, because the full weight of the FBI is actually on the case right now. And I'm sure they're going to uncover some very bad things that have to do with Democratic Party very rich fundraisers financing people to do this. Probably through Act Blue, but I'm not going to say that because that's defamatory. I'm just saying that's my personal opinion and my assumption. I could be wrong. So now that we have that out there. So anyway, Tim Walz is up on this stage, laughing at Tesla, encouraging Democrats to dump their Teslas, dump their stock. And it's obviously a concerted effort to get Elon to get away from the White House and stop cutting waste, which he's not going to do. So my point is, 80,000 friggin' people are employed by Tesla. If you bankrupt Tesla, you're going to put 80,000 auto workers out of work in the United States. That tells you right there how much value you have as a person in this country with the Democratic Party. They hate you. Democrats hate you. They show it through their actions, and you should listen to it. They are so rabidly filled with Trump derangement syndrome that now they're trying to get rid of Chuck Schumer because Chuck Schumer is not fighting back against Trump hard enough. The Democrats wanted to shut down the country, hurting Americans even more. These people hate you, folks. They hate you. They hate me. They hate you. They hate your family. They hate your relatives. They hate your friends. They hate veterans. They hate black people, Puerto Ricans. What they love is they love to use people. Okay? They use people with a fake smile to maintain power and to have control over everybody's life, because the government has to control everything with them. And yes, I am freaking pissed off today about a lot of things. You know, I said on these walks before the election, if Trump wins, we're going to see the judiciary hamper Trump like we have never seen before. I predicted it, and I think everybody inherently knew it, because Trump is more powerful this time, so they have to up their game. There have already been 92, okay, I'm not exaggerating, 92 judicial activist judge injunctions against President Trump in a little under 7 weeks, 2 months. Well, about 2 months. He had 62 for his entire 4-year term from 2016 to 2020. 62. Now, around him, Joe Biden had 14 injunctions against him, despite all the crazy stuff he did, because most of the judiciary in DC is Democrat. So they're not going to bring these injunctions against Biden. George Bush had a handful, and Barack Obama had about the same as Biden, barely nothing. It's all been Trump, 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 Trump. So that's what they're doing. That's just what they're doing. We knew this was going to happen. And it is very obvious at this point, and the American public knows it, that this is activist judges just gumming up the works, trying to obstruct and delay in a coordinated effort with Democrats. Chief Justice Roberts issued a statement yesterday, which he partially leaked to the media, by the way, with the real intent behind it. So publicly, Roberts was like, I'm not talking about Trump specifically, but we have a constitutional process and an appellate court. That's their job. That's the Constitution. And calling for impeachment of justices is wrong. The leaked memo to the media states that this was all about Trump and it was a message to Trump from Roberts, and I believe that. So, what does that mean? Well, basically, what's the title of John Roberts in the Supreme Court of the United States? The Chief Justice of the entire country. It is his job, literally, to make sure the entire judiciary does their job and not turn it into politics. And he's refusing to do anything about it. So, I will hearken back to what I said yesterday's walk, that Republicans in Congress should pass some kind of resolution removing the ability of prosecutors to specifically handpick district court judges like they can now, because they are picking the ones that are extreme activists, far left extremists. Perfect example. A district judge in DC just stated that the military has to accept applications from transgender people into the military, overturning Trump's executive order, which will be on appeal. But in the meantime, they have to adhere to the judge's order, because if they don't, then Trump is violating his oath and he can be impeached. So, how long is this going to take to go to the Supreme Court? Does that judge even have a right to do that? And it turns out, guess who the judge is? The judge is some woman, a female, the first LGBT appointed to the judicial. And she's an activist. She has written a whole bunch of anti-Trump stuff on the internet, articles. She's a radical activist. They picked her because they knew she would rule on this, and it doesn't even matter if it gets turned over on appeal. The whole point of this stuff is to delay the Trump agenda until they get another chance to win the White House in 2028 and hope it's a Democrat, where the Republicans are not going to do the same thing and block everything they do. Even after the horrible President Biden we just had, where Republicans should have done the same thing. But we don't think like they do, because we're better than they are, better people. So I think Republicans, let me turn this around. I think Republicans need to reassess what they're doing and fix this problem. And Trump's going to win on almost all of these cases anyway. He has full authority to do this stuff. So, you know, another example is this judge that stopped those flights from going to Honduras and El Salvador, criminals. And it was a military operation in the name of national security. These people came here and are hurting our citizens, selling drugs and fentanyl and raping kids and all kinds of stuff. That's a threat to the public. It's the president's job to do what he did. So when this judge interferes, that means any judge, every time somebody deports somebody, they can get an injunction. It also means that if Trump wants to move a carrier group off of Iran, that a district judge can file an injunction and stop an official national security threat. This is out of hand. You can't do this. So I would support Trump completely ignoring the judiciary, which would be a horrible thing. But it may be necessary to actually ensure the safety, and I think the public would probably be okay with it, because this is what they voted for. And the Democrats are hurting themselves really badly because they're stopping what people voted for. And they're trying to bankrupt Elon for cleaning up government waste, which 80% of the population supports getting rid of. So, you know, they're making a big mistake, but they're hurting the country at the same time. So, anyway, figure I'd go out for a walk today and burn off some of this energy. You know, people get so riled up, and I can understand why, because everything they're doing is sabotaging our safety and our country. We're trying to stop the country from going bankrupt, and they're fighting against it. Just because it's Trump. It just really, this all comes down to TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome, where they are willing to unemploy 80,000 Tesla workers just to hurt Elon Musk, who, you know, he's worth $250 billion, $250 billion. You know, he may lose 30 billion, but he's not going to be bankrupt. He's not going anywhere. So, you know, the mentality these people have is very vindictive. And I'm going to tell you two stories that happened in Maine here. A lot of people with money come to Maine. They live here. And one guy lost a lawsuit for $1.5 million, and you're going to laugh when I tell you why. This guy was willing to risk losing $1.5 million because his neighbor had trees blocking his view of the harbor. Multi-million-dollar estates here in Maine. Ultra-rich people. They have millions of dollars. And this guy was upset he couldn't look at the harbor from his house. So he goes over and he asks his neighbor, "Can you please remove these trees? You know, I can't see the harbor." And the woman that owns the trees is like, "Well, those trees were there when you bought your property, and they're my trees, and I like my trees. So, no, I'm not going to cut my trees down." So, what does this vindictive liberal do? Because she basically told him to go pound sand. He tried to write a letter to the city saying it was blocking his view, try to get some city councilmen that he probably donates money to make some kind of excuse to order her to remove the trees. That didn't work, because city councilmen can't do that. So this guy that's got millions of dollars and a beautiful estate wants to see the harbor. So what's he do? What's his solution? Well, since he can't get his way legally, he decides to sneak up on her property, which is trespassing, drill holes into the trees, and he injected a herbicide into the base of the trees to poison the trees so the trees would die. That's the thinking of these people. So while he thought that was a good idea, it ended up costing him $1.5 million in fines and also damages and a lawsuit that she filed against him. So she ended up having to file a lawsuit, paying for attorneys, court fees, court costs, court time, not knowing if she was going to win or not, which she did. So he had to pay her court costs, which is part of what cost him $1.5 million, because she had a good attorney. That's the other thing. When you decide to sue somebody and you lose, you may have to pay for their attorney. And they may get an attorney that's $1,000 an hour. So, you know, anyway, the state arborist took core samples of the trees, and it turned out the pesticides he used were banned. Deemed bad for the environment. So this liberal, who's supposed to be a tree hugger and loved the environment, poisoned the trees and killed them, poisoned the ground, which the poison he used is a herbicide, pesticide, that is very harmful to wildlife. The rain runoff into the water, it's a very dangerous chemical for fish. It kills a lot of fish. He didn't care. He just cared about his effing view of the harbor. So anyway, he lost, of course. He also got fined $6,000 by the state, which I guess is the limit for using an illegal pesticide. And he lost $1.5 million to her. There was a similar case in Connecticut, I think I read, where this guy illegally cut down 140 trees that didn't belong to him. He also got sued and lost because he also wanted a view of the ocean. So, you know, you buy the house and you look and it has trees on it blocking your view. What runs through your head where you just say, okay, well, since it bothers me that much, maybe I won't buy this house? So anyway, There was another similar incident in Camden, Maine. Basically the same thing. So these people are crazy, as evidenced by, you know, the Democrats would rather burn down the village to save it, destroy everything, just to not lose and to not give in. And that's what we have right now in the Senate and Congress. About 62% of Democrat voters that were polled out of a 2,400 person survey want the Democrats to completely obstruct Trump on everything, even if it hurts the country. I saw that poll this weekend. That is pretty frightening when Democrats are willing to literally burn down the country to not implement cutting government waste. And they have made Elon Musk public enemy number 2, with Trump being public enemy number 1. But I think secretly Elon is probably public enemy number 1, at least with the establishment in DC, who have lost their money in their slush funds because they think they own our money. And that was another injunction filed by a district judge restoring funding to U.S. aid until it goes to appeal, which Trump has to do. Why is this a problem? This is a problem because Trump has a tariff program he's going to do. Now, he's maintaining that there will be enough money from the tariffs to fund things. So the tariffs are definitely going to happen April 2nd. We're going to have a new country after April 2nd. And it's going to be more difficult than it could have been because of these injunctions and lawsuits, but eventually it will pan out. So these Democrats filing these injunctions are putting the country at risk because Trump has a multi-pronged approach to this, and he'll have the tariff money, but the government waste he wanted to cut is hundreds of billions of dollars. He's not going to have that until the appeals court overturns that. Now, when the hell are they going to do that? I don't know. Can Trump ask for an emergency hearing? Maybe. If he makes the case that this is hurting the country and this has to be resolved, I think he could do that. But what are you going to get for an appellate court? Usually an appellate court will have between 3 or 5 justices, and you have to get a unanimous verdict from all of them. And then even after that, you can file to go beyond that to the Supreme Court if you felt that they were biased and didn't do what they should have. So, you know, I'll give you an example. It took 1.5 years for Trump to unlock the funding to build the wall. So, his first 100 days, Paul Ryan, he didn't get the money for the wall. And then 1.5 years later, he finally got the money through wrangling. He had to take it from the Defense Department because he turned it into a defense of the country issue. Then he got sued again. So that took almost 3 years to unlock the money that should have been unlocked in his first year in office. So that is my concern with these injunctions, that they're going to delay him through most of his term, and he won't be able to establish the economy that he wanted to in the amount of time he has until the Republicans put another candidate forward. And we don't know what's going to happen at midterms next year. With the Democrats going to win the House back? If they keep doing what they're doing now, probably not. I don't see it. And I'm also, you know, I've been inclined to say that the Democrat Party is finished. But they've been in these situations before where they were rock bottom, probably not as much as they are now. And they came back. They came back. Republicans went on a winning streak, and we squandered it with the Iraq War and stupidity. And Obama took advantage of that, and he won. Then he won again. And it wasn't until Trump came along. There's always going to be somebody new that comes along, and somebody will come out of the ashes for the Democrats to lead their party. Probably be somebody that we never heard of or expect, which is basically what Trump did. So never count out the Democrats. They're very smart. The problem is they're so emotional, they're detrimental to themselves. But they will figure this out, and they will come up with a plan. And Gavin Newsom is already doing that. Now, Gavin Newsom is the absolute worst, rabid, far-left, radical, lunatic governor who is incompetent. And he has a podcast. Well, he started his podcast after he came out and said that trans women should not be playing in women's sports because it's unfair to women. He's in California, a state that heavily promotes transgenderism. So he's not stupid. This is an attempt to appeal to the middle, basically the independents that voted for Trump and Republicans. He's trying to win them over to the Democratic Party. I don't think he'll succeed, but the point is, you're going to see a lot more of that from Democrats. I also call that, after Trump won the election, that the Democrats were going to turn toward pretending to be moderates. And I say pretending intentionally because they don't mean it. So he has Tim Walz on his show, and Tim Walz ends up issuing a physical threat. What do you mean we're not man enough? I'll challenge any Republican to a fight, he said. And then he realized where he was going with that. He said, oh, well, maybe a WWE match type thing. I'll show them. So his first reaction was violence. Told you, that's what these people are. Ooh, there's a steep hill. Ooh, Lord. So anyway, found another pew-pew jug. It's been in the snowbank all winter. I don't know if it'll have any holes or leaks, but we will investigate it. I'll fill it up when I get home. Anyway, I'm going to turn the camera around. So anyway, Tesla will be okay because they're leading that field of electric vehicles and technology, for one thing. Specifically autonomous vehicles, robo-taxi, etc., self-driving. And they're also cracking the next barrier that was holding the entire electric vehicle market at bay, was longevity. The longevity of the batteries, the life of the batteries, which is a big problem, as well as distance relevance. Most people don't want an electric vehicle because you can't go anywhere further than 100, 150 miles, and you can't have enough energy to get back. So if you want to round trip, you have to keep pretty much in your own state, within your own recent area, and they're not practical. Good grocery getters, you want to go get groceries in them, and they're not selling. People don't want them, and it's because of that. So Tesla is right on the verge of having a 1,000-mile battery. You come up with a 1,000-mile battery charge, that would work in winters in Maine, where you lose 2/3 of your battery due to extreme cold. You could do things like plug your car in overnight to keep the batteries warm, but you have to pay for that. Electricity is not cheap. So that's really the problem. So what do you do with that? Well, you have to come up with a battery that's actually practical. Right now, the best Tesla battery is about 400 miles. So that's good because, for example, you can drive from where I am right now to Boston. It's 149 miles. So it's about 300 miles round trip. You could go see a Red Sox game, park in a parking lot, take the subway train from Malden to Boston, which is what we do anyway. And so you can go anywhere in Boston on the subway train, and it's really cheap, affordable. I don't know what it is these days, but it used to be just $1 or $2. And so you could go do that, and then you could drive all the way back home on one charge. Wouldn't have to be an issue. So, you know, Tesla is right on the verge of breaking open the electric vehicle market, so I think they'll be okay. And as I've said in previous walks, I'm never going to own an electric vehicle until they can have longevity and the batteries will last. What's that?
Is that YouTube you were recording for?
Yes.
What's your channel name?
Just Megatrends, @Megatrends.
Megatrends? I'll check you out.
Okay, cool.
I saw you up there and recording, and I'm like, foggy?
I just do daily 5 or 6 mile walks and record most of them. And I have a lot of gun video content, vinyl records, things like that.
You have a good day.
You too, thank you. So that guy wanted to know my YouTube channel. To be honest with you, I hope I just gave him the right name for it. I believe it is Megatrends. Well, that's interesting. People are curious. They want to know what I'm doing, recording. He probably thinks I'm live streaming, and he wants to see that live. Well, that is a problem. Anyway, where was I? Tesla, longevity, batteries, battery life. The batteries have to last long enough, and currently they don't. You can maybe get 4 or 5 years, maybe 6 from what I've been reading with the current technology, and then the batteries become depleted and have to be replaced. The problem is it's very expensive. It's between $2,000 and $4,000. There's a lot of labor involved because the batteries are fit inside the car, because the car has to have enough room for batteries. So you have to have enough room for them. So you have to build the car around the batteries, and then when you have to replace them, they are very difficult to get to, labor intensive. So not only do you have the cost of the batteries, you have the cost of all of the labor involved. So it gets very expensive. So basically, I would recommend to you, don't buy a used electric car. You may be tempted, especially if it's got a good price, but it might have a good price because the batteries are crap and they knew it. So very important to be aware of that. So anyway, it's a mess. You know, Democrats are really pissing people off, and I hope they're pissing off some of their own voters who decided to vote for Trump for government waste issues. Some Democrats did cross over and vote for Trump. They won't admit it. And I don't know how many there were, but a lot of independents voted for Trump. And they voted for Trump, especially after the assassination attempt changed their mind that he actually cared about the country. And I think he has had a lot of voters ever since then. That's really when he won the election, I think. And people don't like government waste. 80 to 90% of voters don't like government waste. The Democrats used to preach about cleaning up government waste. Now they're trying to save it just because Trump. And it's a power thing. And I think the voters in this country are going to figure that out like they did in November. Because the Democrats were tone deaf then too and tried to market what they were doing as something that was completely ridiculous, coming out as joyful warriors, hopping around on the stage like everything's great, and we understand you have problems. Here is absolutely no solutions to fix it. Please vote for us. I mean, that didn't work. So this isn't going to work for them either. It just isn't. So I gotta get across here. I gotta cross over here. So we are where we are these days. We'll clean it up. We'll be okay. It's just really irritating. Makes me angry. You know, the guy's got enough stuff to worry about, trying to get peace in Ukraine and all this other stuff. And he's got to deal with this bullshit too. I mean, geez, I'm fucking enough already. Liberals are idiots. They're fucking retards. You know, I usually don't talk like that, but you know, nothing else explains this. There's really no reason to go against government waste, even if you hate Trump. You know, Chuck Schumer just voted to fund the government, continuing resolution, and now the Democrats in the Senate want to get rid of him because he wasn't strong enough with Trump. It's like he put the country first. It's the first time I think I've ever seen Chuck Schumer do that. And I think he knows his party is destroying itself. And he just does not have the skills and the tools to communicate that well enough to his party, because he's built a career on just bad-mouthing Republicans. So, you know, he's the one that has the purse strings, controls the donor money to candidates. And the Democrats have not been doing well with their candidates. A couple of them, maybe. I'd still like to know how Elissa Slotkin in Michigan won a red district, talking like she does. She tries to sound like a moderate, and then she spews all this far-left stupidity. So, you know, it's all an act. It's an act. You know, she doesn't want government waste stopped. She wants Trump stopped, and Elon Musk. So they're not putting the country first. And I think that's going to be a big fail with the public. I need to go to Real Clear Politics and see if they've done any polling on that. I don't want to see polling if whether or not people approve of Elon. I want to see what they have to say about government waste and Doge. I don't care what people think of Elon. We'll cut across here. So anyway, now I'm across the street. I'll do my other 2 miles I need to do. There's a tree missing. There was a tree stump there. I knew there was something missing. Somebody stole the tree that I'm used to seeing. As long as they don't cut this one. This one here is one I start my walks with pretty often. It's got a nest up there. All right. I'll continue on now with the walk. Look at this woman here who bagged up her leaves. It's still a little early to do that. They were wet. But it might be good because we're going to have half-inch of rain tomorrow into Friday, I believe, or mostly Friday. So maybe not tomorrow. So usually you see me start this part as the beginning of a walk. Hi, little doggy. A big guard dog. Dogs are funny because you probably didn't notice it, but I did when we were just walking on one of those streets up in that area. We had one of those Coco looking dogs. The best way I can describe it, Kodiak. It's a Kodiak dog. Pretty mid-sized one, not huge, but that dog poked its head around the car and saw me. And you could tell it thought for a second it was going to start barking, and then it didn't, because it wasn't tethered and the owner wasn't there. So a lot of those smaller dogs, you know, they're on the leash, they will just about tear their own heads off in a furious frenzy trying to get to you, but if they ever got free from it, they'd probably turn around and look at it like, oops, I didn't know I'd actually be free from it. Well, maybe I don't want to do that. So they like to put on a show. So anyways, there's another pew-pew jug. This one actually has about a third full of fabric softener. So that should put on a nice light blue show when it gets shot at the range. So anyway, we'll do a couple of miles here. I'm gonna hang a right up here instead of going straight like I usually do when I start my walk this way. So we're gonna head right. And I'm gonna cross the street. So now these people, not only do they have Trump derangement syndrome, but they also have Elon Musk derangement syndrome, EDS. Not that EDS, although it probably applies to them as well. Erectile dysfunction. So we'll just leave it at that. But anyway, if you eat and drink a lot of soy, that'll happen to you, apparently. So enough about that. You know, we just want to see American companies do well, and 80,000 people work at Tesla, and it's just not cool what Democrats are doing. It just isn't. Hello. It's finally warm out. Yippee! She had a heavy French accent. Sounds like a lot of my relatives or areas. Mostly either Irish, but the majority are Franco-American, French. From Canada, our 51st state. So we have not been hearing too much about the Canadians with regard to tariffs. The media has switched to Elon Musk, and they're going to keep doing stuff like that. They will switch and switch, finding something, the glue that will stick. So we're just going to have to deal with it. It just really does piss me off, though, because the majority of the country voted for this, and now, non-democratically, they're going to sabotage, obstruct, and I don't care who you are, a federal judge should not be able to block deportations of criminals. You know, these people were not civilians that were just your regular illegals. They were people arrested on warrants. Very bad people. They raped little girls. They murdered women. And, you know, they're part of the Tren de Aragua and MS-13. And that has been verified because Honduras and El Salvador knew who they were. And El Salvador is a really good ally with us. Took them back. And in fact, he made a funny post on X after the judge issued that. He actually made a post with photographs from them arriving on their tarmac And he actually said, oopsie, jokingly making fun of these federal judges because everybody knows they're idiots. These are very bad people. You know, the media try to make it look like they're cutting Medicare and Social Security when they're cutting waste and fraud. Nobody's benefits are being cut. And they're trying to get people to be enraged. And if at this point in time, if you're one of those people that don't believe the media is in concert with the Democratic Party, for the Democratic Party, then really you have no business watching my videos. And I would say don't watch them, but in the hopes of maybe something will get through to you and make sense at some point. They don't want the waste cut because they are pilfering our tax dollars. Do you enjoy working hard every week and, you know, 20 to 30% of your paycheck is gone between Social Security, state income tax, federal income tax? I mean, federal income tax, I think, is 15.7, I think. And the state income tax here in Maine just got raised 1%, you know, because Janet Mills is another one that wastes money. I'd love to see the amount of wasteful spending in Maine. I bet it's absolutely horrendously awful. Perfect example. Portland, Maine, a private NGO, okay, non-government organization, couldn't come up with the money to pay for the migrants in Portland. So now Maine taxpayers, which includes you and me and everybody else, is now responsible for the $1.5 million shortfall they had that we're going to have to foot the bill on a budget that they haven't yet settled in Augusta here. That our budget increased from $8.6 billion a year to $11.2 billion. In a state with 1.4 million people, the math doesn't lie. They're going to have to raise taxes significantly to pay for that. So they're raising the marijuana tax, the cigarette tax, the alcohol tax, probably a gasoline tax. And that's why places like California, fuel and everything else is so expensive, because it's taxes. Right? So this is how that happens. Now, we took in thousands of migrants here in the United States, in Maine. A lot of them came from the Biden administration. Some came from Afghanistan. And we already had a rather large, robust Somali migrant operation here. So they come here, and you've all read about it, like in Brunswick, tax dollars were paying for rent for 2 years for migrants that came here. Oh, we got some more chickens, look. Didn't mean to make you all nervous, ladies. The chickens were not happy I was filming them. Anyways, you know, this is the kind of thing that's going on right now. And so they offered to pay in these, they also renovated the apartments. So we paid for all of that, and we're subsidizing their food, rent, everything, helping them get cars. And I think everybody knows poor people that are driving a pretty terrible car that they constantly have to get things fixed for, that's expensive. And then these people come here without earning it, and they're taking the money earned by the people that are paying for their shit cars and buying these people cars. I have no idea why people don't wake up out of that coma and get angry about it and stop voting for these idiots. So anyway, that's my opinion on that. And really at this point, I could really freaking care less if you approve of it or not. I don't care if I only have one viewer or no viewers. I make these videos for me, and it's an exercise vlog basically, and it's more about me staying in shape. I'm going to be 57 years old. I don't want to die next week, and I'm trying my best not to. So you get to a certain point in your life where you just don't give a shit what other people think. You know what's right and you know what's wrong. You know, like that friggin' idiot I saw on the internet who keyed a Tesla. Then he was confronted by it, and, you know, he was trying to act dumb. I don't know what you're talking about. Ugh. You know, the guy's got a veteran's shirt on, he's got a USA jacket on, and he's a stupid Democrat. So I don't understand the logic on why people would do that. I just don't get it. I mean, come on now, seriously, really, you know? First thing you should understand about a Tesla is they have cameras. They have cameras on every corner of the car, in front of the car, sides of the cars. There's like, some of them, I'm pretty sure, have like 6 or 8 cameras. They record everything. You can record it on your app on your phone. And there's a recording of this guy, clearly it's him, raking his key down the side of a Tesla. So, you know, they try to play, you know, dumb, but, you know, I told you, liberals are vindictive. They put sugar in your gas tank, they make false accusations against you at work, they do all kinds of stuff like that. So that's what happened. And he got caught. Now, I don't know how much it's going to cost to repair a stainless steel Tesla Cybertruck that had a key raked down it, but it turns out it was owned by a Democrat liberal female, okay? A woman who's trying to do good for the environment and wants a vehicle that she can travel 400, 500 miles in, whatever it is, 400 I think. And she has a Cybertruck, and this friggin' asshole keyed it. A Democrat did this to another Democrat because the car said Tesla with a logo on it. And I'll say it again from the beginning of the walk, that Tesla does not own the car dealerships. They franchise, kind of like a McDonald's or something like that, an authorized dealer. And but Tesla doesn't own them. So when you're burning all these cars in the parking lot, it's whoever owns the dealership is who you're hurting. And it is domestic terrorism because it's political. So, and to say it isn't is ridiculous, because they also spray painted swastikas on the cars and threw fire bombs, Molotov cocktails, in the holes that they shot out of the windshields, the windows. So, Cybertruck has bulletproof windows, but the other Tesla vehicles just have windows, you know. So I'm being bogged down right now carrying pew-pew jugs that are not empty. And my shoulder is starting to hurt, so I'm going to have to switch. Oh, holy cannolis. Anyway, there we go. Okay. And the reason why these are called pew-pew jugs is I'm shoot cycling them. It's called shoot cycling. You pick up these jugs that are on the side of the road that people threw out. It's good for the environment because I'm picking up trash. And nobody wants to see a small animal with their head stuck in the neck of a bottle of a jug or something. So, I'll pick it up. And it's called shoot cycling because I'll bring it to the range and we're going to shoot the hell out of them. Filled with liquid. So, cut across here. Cut across the road. So anyway, I think at some point we have to agree that the world's gone crazy. And I'll tell you, social media and digital platforms have done a lot to create it. How do I know this? Well, being 57 years old, I remember when we didn't have cell phones. And I also remember when we didn't have the internet for everyday use. I did have a couple of friends that had old Amberchrome monitor computers, and you had something called BBS boards, public bulletin boards, and you would have to type all your commands, and you'd play like these pirate ship games that were really extremely basic, monotone colored Amberchrome monitors. And whew, I gotta switch hands again. So anyway, we didn't have these same problems. What we had was, when you got bored, you went out and hit baseballs. You read books, things like that, and go spend the day at the library. Now you have an entire library at your fingertips online, which is good, but I don't like it when academia changes definitions of things to fit a political narrative like they did with vaccines. And yes, the whole vaccine thing, again, you know, vaccines are beneficial. I just don't like our mRNA technology. So that's my personal decision not to get any of those. I'm not any I just talked about with regard to the flibbity gibbet. Okay, that thing you fill up with liquid and you inject it in your arm, I call it the flibbity gibbet to get around the algorithm on YouTube. So I just had a short discussion on the flibbity gibbet. So I'm going to delete it. You'll have to figure out what I said, but I'm pretty sure you know what I said already. If you go back to the pandemic, the scamdemic. Anyway, academia does change definitions to suit political trends. They did it with transgenderism. And first thing I noticed was it used to be called transsexual. When it was in a dictionary, a paper dictionary, when I was young. And now they've changed it to add that some older people will call it transsexual, but now it is considered a derogatory term. I'm like, says who? Says the people that want to promote transgenderism. A neo-Marxist gender ideology cult. And And I fully support transsexuals. I do not support transgenderism. They are two different things. And that's what the problem you always have with people on the left. There are illegal aliens that hurt people and should be deported. And then there are actual refugees who actually need to seek asylum, who belong here. They don't distinguish between the two. And if somebody does, they're being racist. And that is the chief tool of neo-Marxist ideologies, to get people to be angry at each other and accuse them of being racist if they don't go along with the political narrative. So, don't adhere to it. I don't. You can call me politically incorrect if you want to. I really could care less. I've already had a couple of my videos on here reprimanded. Really could care less. Google and YouTube and these liberals can go fuck themselves. I don't care anymore. It's just a daily walking vlog where I have an opinion, and if I can't express my opinion, that is censorship. Un-American. So in the words of Elon Musk, go fuck yourself. And I'll say it twice. Go fuck yourself. So the people in the back can hear it. So, with that, I am going to end this walk. But first, we're going to have a good laugh. So anyway, thank you very much for walking with me. Click like and subscribe. I don't know who that was that stopped in their vehicle to ask me about my vlog. No, I don't live stream. I would like to, but I like being able to edit the videos and have an intro and all that stuff, and also to avoid the algorithmic censorship that they enjoy doing. But we're going to end this walk with a beautiful shot of something somebody carried into the woods to throw away. Bye bye everybody. Thank you for walking with me. In case you gotta go, folks, there you go.